Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hello.
How you doing?
I will the disclaimer. I am incredibly drunk,
Nice job.
so
Oh, crouched.
don't hold me accountable for anything
CrowdStrike
I
is
say.
coming
Okay.
back. I'm only down 60K now. Let's go,
So
baby. Hell yes.
initially, I wanted to call in to talk about your chat with ethno-nationalist Britain people.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I have a question about that, if you don't mind. But also, what do you think, Kursk People's Republic? So, us liberating Kursk in Russia, what do you think? How does
Well,
that sound?
I think if those people are, need to be protected from Russians that are trying to assassinate and kill them all, and, you guys need to
Yes,
step in and protect those people from evil Russian colonized, I think that's okay. It's a
I agree.
limited,
You
controlled
know,
military operation. And nobody's saying you take it over. They can vote on their own. Okay, now you guys should have full military control
yeah, we
over the
can do a
polling place and everything.
referendum.
Yeah, yeah, you can do a
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we can do a referendum. And also, you know what? We don't even have to replace the names everywhere like Russians do in Ukraine, because all the names in Kursk are already Ukrainian, because that's historically Ukrainian land, you know?
Yeah,
Even Mearsheimer would agree.
yeah.
It's
There
like
you
what
go.
he says, like a sphere of interest or some shit, like sphere of influence, whatever the fuck. It's
Hmm.
basically, is that, right?
It's
It's
real
just our
politic.
sphere
I
of
mean, what are you
interest.
supposed to do, right? What else can Ukraine do but invade Russian territory and take them for their own security? That's how
Unironically,
large powers act, right? I guess. Yeah.
yes, we are stepping in, okay? We're stepping up. Sorry, not stepping
Hmm.
in. Stepping up. And also, it is kind of funny that America has been freaking out about it because White House didn't give us like any, green light on it.
Hmm.
And we also didn't ask. And I'm loving it, okay?
Yeah.
I know you're American and everything, but I'm having a blast over here.
Wait, did I fall
Because
for
last time,
did I fall for fake news, or are you guys are the F-16s operational now?
yes, yeah, but it's very like hush hush
Oh,
where they
okay.
are used, and
Because I
but
got a
yeah, it
big
is.
American boner. Okay, I don't know if it was a fake video or
Yeah,
not. Okay, but watching listening to the sounds that they make as two of them were flying overhead, I was like, God damn! It was a Top Gun moment.
yes, I also had an American boner. Okay, so I had one too. So I agree. Yes, and
Oh, those were
yeah.
Dutch
Oh no, people are
F-16s.
going to.
Fuck off. If they were Dutch
Yes,
F-16, the
they're
F-16 is an American
Dutch,
platform, isn't it?
but
Fuck you guys. That means we probably sold to them first, or they made it with our blueprints. Shut the fuck up. Who said that? You're banned.
they did made it with details of American stuff, yeah, and also with NATO, stuff. So it's unavoidable essentially, yeah. But
Yeah.
it is the Dutch who gave them to us, not Americans. So you're still cucked, I suppose. Um, but still good news and pretty hardcore, pleasant to see. But the funniest bit is reading Russian Telegram today is you have boners because of the F-16. I have boners reading Russian Telegram because reading them being like super afraid and super like ass mad at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And also they're like, Ukrainians are evacuating us. Why are they doing that? And you're like, Russia encounters a proper conduct in war. So funny to read them how they're like, well, our Russians are not evacuating us, but Ukrainians do. And you're like, yeah, that's, laws of war. That's how proper armies conduct war. They try to minimize the
Their own. Yeah.
deaths from the civilians, and they're so confused by it. And reading it is just hilarious. Also, Russia bombed their own villages and cities in Kursk region, and aerial bombs on their own cities and villages. So
They
I
are
don't know
giving
how Russians are feeling about it right now.
10,000 rubles to people who have to flee their homes, which is big compensation.
Yeah, super
Yeah.
much.
Apparently, it's like
Yeah, lots
120
of
USD
money.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's dirt.
Uh,
Yeah, so it's very very interesting. I mean, I like that our people are so far conducting themselves very well, which I expected of them.
mm-hmm.
So I'm happy about that. I mean, those cunts really don't deserve any grace, but we're still giving it to them. So yeah, we still should be better than the abominable assholes we're fighting against, I suppose. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but fun day. Also, Scott Ritter got FBI on him finally. Yeah, Russians are no longer have access to YouTube. which I'm super happy about.
Yeah,
And
right.
yeah,
You
overall,
wish.
it has been.
I'm sure there's 50 trillion other accounts they work through, but
Yeah, I mean, they are saying they will use their own platform now, but they always say that some Chiburashka Russian
hmm
Russian shit version of like Instagram or like YouTube or whatever the fuck.
yeah.
Yeah, well, anyhow, yeah. Today has been a drinking day. Okay, today has been success after success, dunk after dunk. I am a little bit worried though that our guys are gonna find themselves in trouble there, like in some sort of like encirclement, or maybe if we have to like step away, it will be a problem. I don't know. We will see how it plays out.
hmm
But they took so many prisoners of war there from Russian, soldiers. So it could be good for our exchange because we do need to get our guys out, considering that now even UN confirmed that 95% of our Ukrainians are getting tortured in Russian captivity. So maybe we can use that. I don't know. But currently I'm having a blast. Yeah. About the fucking ethno-nationalist you talk with. I never thought I'd say this, and please don't quote me on this ever. Don't do any clips or anything. But listening to that, I started missing Russians. I started to feel appreciation towards them
What do you mean by that?
because these ones are cocked.
Yeah.
They're like so. That's my question. Why are they like that? Why are they so
Well, what do you mean?
fucking
What do you mean by cuck?
pussy? Like, they can't say anything.
Oh
Like
yeah, no.
straight. They're like,
That's why I like the Nazis when I was arguing with them. They're like, yeah, we need to get rid of all the fucking brown people. We need to deport. It's like, okay, base. Let's talk about it. Yeah. Whereas like, yeah, when I'm arguing with these guys, I was like, well, the reason why they protested a Muslim mosque is because Islam is kind of tied to immigration, and that one kid is tied to immigration because he's brown, so they're all kind of like related, and that's why we're protesting them, and it has nothing to do. And it's like, bro, oh my god, kill me, get me the fuck out of here.
I know. Just say like, what do you think? Like, why are they? Why are they like that?
Yeah. And then every time I hear that phrase,
Ew.
mass migration, kill me, fam. Mass migration, mass
Yeah,
migration.
you're just against
Oh my god.
migration.
Yeah.
You
Just say
hate
all. Yeah. You say you
migrants.
don't want
You
immigrant.
don't
Yeah.
want
No
them.
immigration. That's fine. Jesus. Mass migration. Mass
Yeah,
migration.
and
Yeah. Ugh.
ew. Like I literally missed at this when I listened to them. I was like, you know what? I actually like the Russians better, unironically,
Yeah.
because I don't know how much if I can repeat Russian slurs here or not. I don't know if you get you in trouble, but you will ask an average Russian about like I don't know back in the day when Obama became president. You would ask them like, what do you think about that? And they will say, I can't say the N word
Yeah.
obviously, but they will say like the N word, and then they will say like he's a shit-skinned gorilla.
Well.
Okay. And you're like, okay, yeah, I know where this person stands. And they're like, he can't be president because he is that, okay? Or you would ask them about Ukrainians, for example, now, like average Russian. Like, what should we do, the journalist asks them, with Ukrainian prisoners of war that we take? And the person would be like, we should kill them all. Why are we taking them as prisoners? Like, death to all of them. Ukrainians are subhuman. We should bomb their children too. Like, that's ballsy. That's, that's where they're at, okay?
Yeah.
But these ones, my idea is they're so very timed because their ideas are not as popular in their society as they pretend they are. So the voting shows this, right? In UK, and Lonerbox brought it up multiple times, and they just danced around it.
Yeah, but if as long as you have
like
like big videos, that's all that matters. It was so frustrating. This happened in Canada too, where you get like all these truckers that are like, we all like we disagree with the with the masking or the lockdowns. And it's like, okay, well the polls disagree with you, and they're like, but look at how many trucks there are, and it's like, okay, what do you? Okay,
yeah.
well.
But I think it just shows that they're so like timed about their actual opinions. They're so like unwilling to be very open about it. It shows because in Russian society there is no social punishment being like saying very extreme things, because nobody will think you're awful. Nobody even will give you a side eye. most people will just fist bump you and think you're great, or they just will not, react in any way, because it's such a prevalent thing. It's such a normal thing to say things they say in their society. So I guess it shows that, UK is obviously not like that, because otherwise people would be loud and proud.
Yeah.
Much more loud and proud that they are.
Yeah.
And that's good. But, yeah. But Lauren took me out in one of the moments, because she was like, they were always saying that this guy who did the thing, the Rwandan, I think, right? The guy, he is not English. And you would be like, ask them, like, he's like the citizen. He's from UK. He is a citizen of UK. Like, why the fuck? And
it's one thing that's
none of them.
Sorry, yeah. Or I was gonna say one thing that's like really confusing for the way that we use, especially for an American, this is even more confusing, is like race and ethnicity and nationality. All of these things get used interchangeably in the West. Hold on, not in the West. I'm sorry, in America.
In America,
because like, what does it mean to be American?
Canada,
I don't know. Yeah, and then when you go to other places, but then it's also weird too, because it's like is like Chinese. People will say Chinese means like an ethnicity and like a nationality, but also it's like you got like Han's Chinese or other types of Chinese people. So like, is it an ethnicity? Or like for English people, like English is like a nationality kind of, but it's also like a state in the UK kind of. But then it's also, I've never heard of like the English ethnicity. I've heard of like Anglo-Saxon. Not to say there isn't, but I'm just not sure. But yeah, so it's all like it's confusing as fuck. Yeah.
I mean, Anglo-Saxons are the Germanic tribe, essentially.
Oh wait, okay, wait. Is that not even who did the English people come from? I might even be wrong on that. Then all my race.
From Anglo-Saxons, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Angles, yeah. So Anglo-Saxons, they kind of lived on the modern United Kingdom territory, mostly in the territory. There are also Celts there, Picts, and some other assholes I don't remember. Whatever, there are like a bunch of tribes, and all of them afterwards they were like there in 5th century, long time ago. And after, closer to the 11th century, they formed like the Kingdom of England, essentially. It was already like which is basically the land of the Angles, essentially. So so they kind of like formed in ethnicities, obviously, based off that. But back in the old days, like early medieval times, it was just a bunch of different tribes that all had like some sort of connection territorial. Or they had like a language they shared. So like Old English, for example, with Anglo-Saxons, right? Which was more Germanic than it was modern day English.
Sure.
So, it's a pretty complicated shit, but yeah, it is, obviously. You can have both a nationality and an ethnicity. It's just the difference.
Yeah, but people float between them like very disingenuously sometimes. Like someone will say in the United States, like, I hate Mexicans. And you'll be like, ooh, that's okay. And they'll be like, what do you mean? And like, well, I mean, that seems kind of racist. And people will be like, no, Mexican is not an ethnicity. That's a nationality. I just hate people of the country of Mexico. It's like, okay, bro. Yeah, and it's like, it gets really weird when people start saying, and I can't tell like what people actually mean sometimes, and I can't tell if it's intentional or not. Yeah.
I fucking hate also when they're like, we're not like, it's not racism. We're like, we here enlightened Britons, okay? We don't speak about a race. We speak about ethnicity. And like, my dude, like, you're not like fooling anyone with this. Yeah. So also, I first gave him props for being like educated on ethnicities and everything, but then he started to throw some stupid ass shit, and I was like, no, he's not. He's just playing it up how he likes it.
Sure.
There is a certain cast of particularly British ethno-nationalists for some reason that are they're like the most Western types, I guess, of Europeans, you could say. So they have this like they have this right, I guess, or like a barometer of who Europeans are. So they think they have this right to basically exclude people from being Europeans, which he did with Finnish people. But
I usually it's only I usually see Americans doing that. I don't see that usually happening as much in Europe. So I don't know if these guys are like Americanized Europeans or if there are people that do it. Okay.
No, it's like the Anglo-Saxon shit. It kind of like sipped through you, throw them to you. A lot of like Western Europeans, not even British ones, but also like French people, Germans, they would be like doing this song and dance of excluding people from being Europeans who they find a little too Asian, I guess.
Sure.
Which he did exactly that with the Finnish people, and nobody called that asshole out, which pissed me off because he was like, they're basically Mongolian, dude. And I'm like,
Sure.
What?
Well, to be fair, I don't know enough about. I know all I know because obviously my ex-wife was Swedish. I know that like their Scandinavian people all have a lot of similarities, but I'm pretty sure the Finnish people are really different. Like language is totally unrelated. I don't know
They're
anything about the
different, but they're
ethnic
not
background or anything.
Mongolian.
Oh yeah, I don't know any about that. I don't know where how far
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Mongolians
they're
went or not.
different.
Yeah.
But he said it. He was like, "Oh yeah, so it's like because they have a very different language from Sweden." No shit, it's a different group of languages.
Sure. Yeah.
Scandinavian, like Germanic languages. There's like Indo-European languages, but Finnish language is Ugro-Finnish or Uralic group of languages. It's a very small group that includes Estonian, and Hungarian, for example. Those three languages are in Uralic group: Estonian, Finnish, and Hungarian. They are very different from many other languages. They're pretty unique, distinct. But also, he was like, they're basically from the steppe, which is a way to say Asian, okay?
Okay.
But they're actually like basically from Siberia, and the closest ethnic group to them, like by DNA, is Kareli and Estonian people. So they have some Asian DNA, but it's about 5%.
Okay. I'll take your
So
word for it. I
that's
don't. I have
enough
no
for
idea.
him.
So yeah.
Yeah. The highest the highest percent of Asian like DNA they have from their Siberian heritage is 13% at the top. Most have like 5-7. So if I guess that's enough for that guy to not consider them Europeans. They also are, funnily enough, the whitest people on earth. I don't know if you ever seen them, but they are the most blondest country in the world. Even more blonde than Swedish. And they
Okay.
have the most blue-eyed people in the world.
Nice.
So they're like the most pasty eyes, like blonde, blue-eyed people you can possibly imagine. And yes, their DNA is quite different from the Western Europeans, but it is quite close to their other people in the region, which are like Estonians. They have a lot of similarities with Swedish people as well. They're not identical because they're two separate groups, obviously. But yeah, it's a load of bullshit what he said. When he said they're Mongolian, I nearly lost that. I don't know if you can understand it, but that's such a like Western chauvinist move.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know how all the memes work when it comes
Yeah.
to European stuff, but I'm very familiar
Yeah.
in America when the race realist stuff happens. Like as soon as I hear somebody start to say something, I can very quickly like pick up on like, oh, this is like we're doing like Nick Fuentes a long time ago called it
Yeah.
soul math to determine like how white he was because of like the different ancestors he had. It was just like the dumbest shit in the world. Yeah.
What a cringe lord. Yeah. And yeah, it's what they do is like if you like, it's not obviously about the black and the brown stuff, but if you like want to basically alienate let's say like Ugrafinic people, or you can alienate, let's say, Slavs, for example. You would do that by calling them Asian, essentially. So call them, they come from the steppe, like you said, or like say they're like Mongolian, some shit.
Yeah,
So,
this is like super
yeah.
standard probably for every part of the world. In America, racists try to say we have like an Anglo-Saxon heritage, so it's all white European stuff or whatever. And a lot of these people will literally be like Fuentes, like is part Hispanic, or like in Israel-Palestine, you've got people arguing over who the original Canaanites were and who was converted to who and who were part of the people of the Levant and the backgrounds of who. Yeah, so yeah, everybody does this to try to like have these ties to the land or whatever. Yeah.
This is just something Americans I don't think like hear much about because it's about this particular part of the. It's mostly about like Western Europeans say that about Eastern Europeans essentially. So it's kind of like I mean you can include Baltics in that as well, I guess, but it's like mostly that. Also, if you like if they want to alienate, for example, Balkan people, they would call them kebabs. So
Gotcha.
like Turkish.
Okay.
Like
Nice.
Turks, something like that, essentially. So yeah, I mean. I believe them, these guys, when they say they are super duper anti like Muslim shit, obviously, like Arabs, things like that. But they also apparently are super against Ukrainians migrating in. So it's not even like it's broader like migration thing for them. But not because they're like against mass migration, because they just don't want not English ethnically people there at all.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's not about nationality to them, which you obviously showed them, but they were not reacting to it. And Lauren, by the way, did a fucking brilliant number when you were like, he is fucking, from UK. He wasn't, I believe, born there as well.
He was,
right?
yeah, he
and
was.
he has like the passport and everything. Yeah, so he's by nationality, he is English because he's from fucking
Yeah, but then they were
England,
saying,
from
well,
UK,
if we had
right?
our immigration policy, his parents wouldn't have been here. And it's like, do you even know why they immigrated? Like, what if they were high skilled laborers or something? Like, but they're just like, yeah,
They don't care.
yeah,
They don't
no,
give a fuck.
yeah, yeah.
They just don't want anyone. They're ethno-nationalists. They're ethno-nationalists. They don't want anyone who is not their ethnicity there. That's it. Simple as that. And the funniest bit, yeah, like I said, was with Lauren, when she's like, my mother or something is English, like ethnically, and I was like not allowed to be in UK, so they can deport people if they want to for like
Oh yeah,
smaller
and I was like,
reasons.
yeah, and then I asked her, I was like, wait, were you a UK
Oh,
citizen? And she was like, well, no. And I was like, wait, then
no.
what are you talking about? What? I don't know if like
She's talking
refusal to
about
entry is the same
right.
thing as like deportation or like whatever. Yeah, this is silly. Yeah, yeah.
She's talking about her blood right. She thinks she has more blood right to be there because she has blood of the English.
Yeah.
And that guy doesn't. That's all. That's it. That's very simple. No, you can call this out really easily because their language, it points out to all of that. And yeah, they only care about that. I'm so fucking glad that most of nationalists in my country are civic nationalists. Holy shit, this ethno-nationalism is cringe. Go liberal nationalism. When you care about nationality, not
I think
the fucking,
I'm sympathetic towards
face.
that. I think my views on this have evolved a lot since Israel-Palestine, although I kind of knew this a little bit in the United States. I agree in general that like ethno-nationalistic things are kind of cringe, but I can understand people wanting to like protect it when you're targeted based on that. Right. So like, for instance, one thing in the United States is people would say like, oh, well, black people, you guys should like be just like white people and you guys shouldn't see color and all of this. And we should all get along. And it's like, that is true. But if you're a black person and people treat you differently because you're black, well, it's kind of hard to pretend like you're the same as everybody else. And then it makes you have like that protective feeling over that group. So like if you're a particular ethnic group in some part of the world that's being like persecuted for being that ethnic group. And then other people are like, well, why do you guys have like such strong like ethnic, defensive ties to each other? It's like, well, because other people are killing us based on our ethnic ties. Yeah. So I kind of understand it. Yeah. The U.S. situation
it's
is
just
really
that
neat,
English are not the ones.
yeah. Well, yeah, because you guys were the biggest
okay?
imperialist motherfuckers. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's ridiculous. Obviously, I would understand, like, for example, Ukrainians have been through and still are through the absolute shitstorm that is people targeting us, obviously, right? So, of course, people will be a bit more. But still, I'm very glad that most people, at least I talk with, and Ukrainian nationalists tend to be civic. So they do care a lot about nationality and shared culture. They care about language, but they really don't give a fuck about ethnicity that much.
Sure.
So, for example, if you're like Azerbaijani, which is different, entirely different. You're also Muslim, likely, if you're like, Azerbaijani. So, but you were born in Ukraine, you have a Ukrainian passport, they don't care. So they, as nationality, they will admit you as Ukrainian. So me as well, for example, I'm mostly not. So I'm like Greek, Russian, Polish blend, essentially. So not like ethnically Ukrainian.
My guess is going to be too that like when you look at like different people's histories, like depending upon how they engaged with like, I don't know world history much at all, but like my guess is going to be like how they engage in like this post-enlightenment, like the late 19th century, and then going into the 20th century, like how people saw nations and countries and all of that is probably also going to influence how people view like their particular ethnic group. Like as Europe moved towards people like seeing borders and countries and that, they can have like a stronger identification with like a country and like a citizenship to a country. Like, like Ukraine existed as part of the Soviet Union as its own like little like state province. I don't know what the fuck they were called in the Soviet states or whatever, right? And then from 91 onwards, it exists as like a country. Whereas like when you go to other places, like say like in the Middle East, the idea of like country isn't really as strong maybe as your loyalty to your like religion or a particular ethnic group. So you don't really have that same strong like nationalistic background. You're not feeling like I want to defend this country as a citizen of Iraq or as a citizen of Yemen. Like you're identifying more along these other lines. So yeah.
I mean, nationalism is, nation states are, quite new, like as a concept.
Yeah.
So many people really don't give that much of a fuck about it. And they are still based upon the ethnocentrism, essentially. So they care about the shared heritage, the descendants, like who you descend from, essentially, right? They care about religion, care about traditions, care about language, things like that. But they don't really care about the nationality as it is. So yeah, national identity is also kind of like a new sort of thing it is literally new because it is something over like a new world thing, which I find to be quite like based about the United States because it was essentially like that sort of project, right? Because American is a national identity. It's not ethnicity. It's not race. Like a person of every race, every ethnicity could be an American.
Yeah.
Right. So it is based upon that, upon shared national identity. And it doesn't mean that you don't have anything in common, or you don't have like a shared culture, or you don't have like shared values and things like that. Although now it does seem like, actually, and ironically, now that I think about it, it does seem like you don't really share our values with the MAGA squad. But yeah, when it comes to that, it's quite understandable why Americans really don't really understand all that ethnic shit, because you do have like nationality and you also have race, which was like the arbitrary factor that you used to fight amongst each other and separate people out, I suppose. So it is really about the white-black thing, for example. That's why it seems so strange sometimes for Europeans when Americans are like, you're all white. And you're like, yeah, but nobody gives a fuck about that.
Yeah,
it's not like it doesn't matter at all, but it matters way less than ethnicity. I mean, there are degrees of separation, right? So if a person, for example, is I don't know, like is an Arab from, I don't know, like whatever the fuck, from Iran or some shit. No, not exactly. I mean, if it's an Arab Muslim person, right? There are more degrees of separation from you. So it's not only just the race, but it also is language, it is also culture, it is religion, it is a completely different set of values as well, for example. That's a bigger degree of separation than you, for example, would have between, let's say, Belarusian person and Ukrainian person, right? There's less difference there, obviously.
Sure.
But it doesn't mean that there is not enough difference that people can fucking hate each other and kill each other, okay?
Yeah.
So that has never been a problem in Europe, okay? That has never been an issue. Yeah, so I think like Americans also have a cringe ass understanding of ethnicity, no pun intended, but I sometimes I'm very confused as how you guys even understand that at all. So
I think it's just basically when you have nothing else, you don't have any other shared stories or narratives, like ethnicity, like the way that people look, is just the easiest thing to fall back on. So
yeah, I mean, it is a bit like, sometimes you talk with like ethno-nationalists and you can see that they're also, some of them are like super exclusionary, like these guys were, obviously. They didn't want any fucking migrants there at all. They just want, ethno-state, essentially. So just united by the ethnical principle. But sometimes there are sort of like more of a ethnocrats, which means that they will tolerate some number of migrants, some number of different ethnic groups, but as long as it's very minor.
Sure. Yeah.
So as long as it's a very small number, they be cool with it. And as long as the minorities are never in power.
Yeah.
So they're never in the government, they're never making the decisions. So as long as that minority lives like that, then they might be sort of okay with them. But as long, not when it's like equality, essentially. When they're doing that, then they're not chill.
Yeah.
But there are also people that are super radical that don't want them with them at all. Like, never mind if they're like the minority.
Yeah.
But these guys tend to pretend at least to be that, ethnocrats, more than ethno-state people. But I don't know if I can really trust if that's true or not. Because when he was asked, it was only because it's illegal,
Yeah.
to deport people who has, so why didn't he say, no, I wouldn't? Like, it's it's not the right thing to do, to deport people who already have like citizenship and passports. He could have said that, but instead he said like, no.
Yeah, because they want to avoid answering the question. Yeah.
Yeah, bitch move.
Okay, well,
yeah, that's pretty much it. I educated you on Finnish people.
Thank you so much. 5% Mongolian DNA. Gotcha.
I don't know why do you need it in your life, but I was just annoyed for some unknown reason when he said it, because nobody was there to call him out, obviously. Nobody had deep Estonian and Finnish lore, but that guy, dude, what a weirdo. Actually, he looks unironically 10,000 times more or less European than average Finnish person does. I throw it that way. Well, anyhow, gonna go get more shit-faced because it's that sort of day.
Have fun. Be careful.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
Yeah. Bye-bye.